Hi, I'm Janet Fielding. I played Tegan in Doctor Who, the five-ish Fangirls. Have a good time.
The tangents we continue all the way to episode 368 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast, and you are going to clean this dump till it shines like the top of the Chrysler Building. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do with a virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Belvedere.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
We have to say we love you, Rachel.
Yeah.
We love you, Miss Rachel.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Well, if there's one difference between me and Miss Hannigan, I do not like gin. So, bathtub or otherwise.
I wonder what it does to your skin if you bathe in it.
Yeah.
Can't smell good.
Carol Burnett. All right. Well, let's do the news. First up, a bit of 10 o'clock news, unfortunately.
Yeah, this one is a little
Gilbert
hard.
Gottfried has passed away
Yeah.
at the age of 67.
Which is not that old, all things considered.
No.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he is a form of
Some sort of muscle disease or
yeah, it's like kind of like MS, but it was
Yeah.
like a very specific type.
Mm.
something?
So, but of course, those of us of a certain age know him best as the voice of Iago. In
Yes.
The Lion King.
Yes.
So,
Well, I
Mhm.
knew him first as
Mhm.
he was the principal, but he's also the head of the orphanage in Problem Child. And then in Problem Child
Mhm.
2, he was the principal, which
Mhm.
now that I think about it, I don't know if I could go back and watch that movie because I would probably be way too grossed out. But that was the first time I'd ever knew of him. So for me, he was always the guy from Problem Child. But then, Iago, and then, if you watched, if you ever got the chance to watch daytime TV in, like, I don't know, late 90s, early aughts, Hollywood Squares, he was the center square.
Yes.
You fool!
Mhm.
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 And then also, there was a video of him. It was from College Humor of him reading 50 Shades
From
of
50
Grey.
Shades of Grey. Yes.
Look that up, but it is not
Yes.
for small ears at
yes.
all.
Ooh.
And then
I wonder
A
if
good chunk of what Gilbert did was not safe for child ears.
No,
Dear,
but
no.
that was the joke. And then just recently, and this appeals to me because I am a big Wheel of Time fan. The books, I haven't watched the show. I don't want to. But there's a Wheel of Time podcast. Well, they reenact parts of they reenact parts of the books in like audio form, so it's sort of like a Big Finish radio play type of thing. And they actually got Gilbert Gottfried to do the voice of the Dark One, they call him. It's basically this world's version of the devil, and he's gonna come and destroy the world. Which I didn't know what to think when I heard it, but I'm like, actually that kind of works for this character. And now I'm like, dang it, there's a missed opportunity there.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I was really impressed with him, with his voice for that particular character. And I was like, wow, they should have. And I don't know how this, I mean, it definitely is a fan run, not like, well, I mean, the production value is pretty good for what it is, but it's definitely a fan run sort of thing. And it's like, I don't know how you guys got him to do that, but that's awesome.
Mhm.
So yeah, so very distinctive voice, You know, his comedy was very crass. He was not shy about offending people, which, you know, is kind of an kind of a anomaly in this day and age. But you know, you gotta give the guy props for sticking to his style. So definitely going to be missed. Definitely a generational talent, and made a lot of good memories in the movies. So.
Yeah, because somebody shared a picture on Facebook of him, Bob Saget, and
Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald,
Norm Macdonald, and then there was another one with the guy with the reddish blonde hair who Anderson, I think, was the last name.
Louis Anderson.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, it's like all these comedians that we knew, you know, were part of our
and the
childhood.
good ones.
The good ones, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, got into into the things we loved as kids, and you know, and that we look back fondly on as adults. Or like, we're losing them, and it's just like, it's sad.
Yep.
Oh.
What made me cry was it was a piece of fan art of us, Iago and the genie, like together.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah, the cast of Aladdin on Broadway, the Disney on Broadway account on TikTok, they had posted where the cast, when they did their curtain call, the guy that plays Iago, because Iago is played by a person.
It's not an actual talking parrot.
Yeah, they said a few words. Well, I mean, as opposed to like doing like a puppet like they do for like the Lion King, where they have like puppets and stuff. So that was kind of my point.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but they during their curtain call, they made sure to say a few words, and the guy actually playing Iago at the moment and met Gilbert years ago, and I guess he knew he was coming because he happened to have his VHS copy of The Lion King with him, and Gilbert signed it for him. So,
The Lion King or Aladdin?
Or the Aladdin. Sorry,
I'm
still on. I just finished Elton John's book, so I've still got Lion King on the brain.
Yep.
So,
Gotcha.
Don't want to confuse our listeners.
Go if you could do the audiobook version of Elton John's
it's
book,
worth it.
It's so good, and Taryn does a fantastic job of reading it. And I don't know if Elton had like a ghostwriter help him, but either way,
usually they do.
Yeah, but knowing Elton John, it's still written in the way he would speak. It is hilarious.
His sense of humor.
And I was laughing at stuff that really you probably shouldn't laugh at, but just the way he was telling some of these stories, even he was like, yeah, I'm finding the humor in these really horrible situations. So.
Yep.
You know,
when you posted that you were in the gym on Messenger listening to his Donald
when he's
Duck,
telling the story about wearing the Donald
that.
Duck costume, and I'm like in the middle of the gym trying not to bust out laughing.
Oh my goodness. It is a secured human being who can look back at the tragedies of their lives and be like, yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah. And Taryn does a fantastic job doing the reading. So so yeah, if you can listen to the audio version of Elton John's book, but I've got Elton John and therefore The Lion King on the brain. So
understandable.
As we get to feedback, the first thing Shalane mentions is The Lion King. So I have that looking at me the screen right here too. So
well, you know, and it all kind of, you know, those four movies, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, they're just kind of boom, boom, boom right there in a row for us. So
it's our childhood, it's the Disney Renaissance. So yeah. So Anyway,
so yes, Gilbert Gottfried, rest in peace, and thank you for the memories. And we just he was always one of my favorites. Just whenever he'd show up in things, and he was always he wasn't quite Tim Curry levels of, oh my gosh, here
No.
he is again. But when he showed up, you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
There's
he's
no
again.
mistaking the voice.
Buckle up.
Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
Buckle up. We're gonna
and
be in for a
I
ride.
permanently on my phone, regardless of what else I may have on my phone, I have meme screenshot, whatever you want to call it, of Iago sitting on Jafar's shoulder with the text, I think I'm gonna have a heart attack and die from not surprise. So
Yep.
I use that a lot.
And you can
Yep.
just hear it
Yeah.
in his voice when you read it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say this. At one point, I had some friends, like I was in 4th grade, and we had this grand ambition that we were going to do a backyard stage production of Aladdin, and I was going to play Iago. So I tried so hard to get that voice just right. I could never get it quite right.
No.
And I mean, obviously it never came to fruition, but we were just like, yes, we're gonna do this, and we like made posters and everything. It was ridiculously cute now that I think about it. But yeah, I was like, I'm gonna play Iago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
R.I.P. good sir, and thank
Yeah.
you for
Yes.
the laughs.
Yeah. All right. Now moving on to convention related stuff. So Indie PopCon still busting out with more guest announcements. They've announced some cosplay related guests and some YouTube related guests. But a couple of big names, I guess, depending on where your fandom lies, have been announced recently. One, I was very surprised, and I've been chatting with Brandon every now and then when they announce. They're like, really, because we're both like old grandparents, like, we don't know what the kids are into these days. And then every now and then they'll announce somebody where we actually know who the person is. But then they're like, so recently PopCon has announced Tom Arnold, of all
Really?
people. Yes.
Okay.
So don't ask.
Yeah.
Apparently he's got a following.
Sure, everybody's a fan of somebody.
Yeah,
That is true.
but I was just like, hey, I know who that is. So
Thank heavens his ex-wife lives in Hawaii.
yes, really. Definitely. And then very appropriately, considering it returns that same weekend of PopCon, Scott Grimes, aka Lieutenant Gordon Malloy of the Orville.
Nice. I am so looking forward to the Orville.
Me
Yes.
too. It's been so long.
I know.
I smell rewatch in my future.
Yes.
Yes.
I was gonna say, I remember some things. I don't remember everything. So
I remember there was a big space battle and Isaac went crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
because of
it
his
came
people.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that part I remember. But yes, so.
Yep. Which that'll be easier to rewatch than all the seasons that he was on ER. So
This is
Mhm.
so that's exciting. And then we've got the few trailers. So we got a trailer for Stranger Things season 4.
And I said it I
That
said it on
remix.
Facebook. Yes.
Oh, that was so good.
Break out your best in Journey.
Yep.
Yes.
and as kind of hit and miss as the last season was of Stranger Things, I mean, I don't know what this season is going to do, but if it is if it is a bust, I'm like, at least we got a damn good trailer out of it.
And did you notice that they pulled a big wig D&D villain too?
Yes. Holy
Vecna?
Vecna is So I'm like, wait, did they do a stealth D&D show under our noses? Like, it's not just
Apparently, I need to brush up on my D&D lore before the season drops.
So funny because
Vecna,
because I'm like, Critical Role retweeted. It's just like because they dealt with Vecna in their first campaign. It's just like, we did mention portals in, but we didn't say where. It's just like
so the very first campaign I played, when Jared and I were dating, and let's see, I don't know how much of the story I've told, and it's kind of complicated, but the gist of it was one of our party turned against us and became was revealed as a follower of Vecna, and and he totally went berserk on us and turned the whole village into snake people, for lack of a better term. And was gonna completely destroy the world. So so his character was out of the picture, so he became DM. We could tell you stories about this guy. Anyway, so then we had to go off on these weird quests and make up new characters so we could go get reinforcements. It was kind of an Avengers Assemble sort of thing, now that I think about it. Anyway, and his character was a follower of Vecna, and I'm just like, ooh, I don't like that guy or that gal. I can't remember. I can't remember.
I think it's a guy.
Yeah, but yeah, I heard Vecna and I was like, ooh, you nerd. So
yeah,
it's like you're hitting my berserk button here. So but no, the trailer looks amazing. And I love that song. Jared actually has an anime music video that is his favorite on YouTube that is super 80s, and that song is just perfect for it. And
nice.
But yeah, so
please share.
Oh, I shall. Let me see if I can. Well,
we know if season 4 is going to be into 2 parts, so it's just like, okay, if this is volume 1, what's volume 2 going to bring? And Lord forbid, what is the finale of 5 going to be? And please get Hopper out of Russia.
Seriously, holy cow. Poor guy.
Do we need to call reinforcements? His doppelganger and company?
Probably. Let's see.
Maybe.
Is this the one? No, this is not the one. I will find it.
Okay.
I don't even know what the anime is, but it's just really well done. I may have to ask Jared.
If you find it.
Yeah. He'll have it somewhere. Anyway, so yeah, Stranger Things trailer. The trailer looks great, and if, like I said,
if anything else, even if the story ends up being just a complete cluster.
Yeah.
Visually, we're gonna be entertained.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I am.
And then I'm quickly counting. Okay, let's see. There's 3 seasons and this many episodes, minus the time for Disney Plus and other stuff. I think I can squeak in a rewatch.
Yeah.
Because this is I don't know how far back they're gonna pull for references.
Yeah. Well, Paul Reiser's making a return, so
yeah.
So at least
There's
that far back.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, and speaking of visually interesting with rocking 80s soundtrack for the trailer,
and a drop before we actually.
I like to think that Taika Waititi was responsible for this, so I'm just going to thank Taika, even though he probably really had nothing to do with it. I'm sure it was Marvel marketing, but still, thank you, Taika. I'm just going to thank him anyway for dropping this on a Monday morning
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably because people knew they needed to start the week off right.
Yes.
On a good foot. So we finally, here we are, 2 weeks away from Doctor Strange dropping in theaters.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
finally, we've got our first look at Thor, Love and Thunder. And it just, the entire time I'm like, oh yeah, Taika's done it again.
Yeah, yes.
Mhm.
Well, and then the song for the soundtrack,
Which I don't care for
taking
as
a
much
page-
because I don't really
Right.
like Guns N' Roses. So
Right. But I mean, kind of taking a page out of James Gunn's book, and then we've got the Guardians.
Yeah, I was
guy
gonna
that's
say this
like,
one is kind of like
oh,
Guardians 2.5. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yes.
did
Yeah.
have Immigrant Song for Ragnarok, so and that
True.
was Taika. So
That is true.
Yeah, true.
yeah.
it's not that
Oh,
weird.
I
was gonna
was
say, but the
happy-
whole thing just screams Taika Waititi. So it's got
Yeah.
his
I
fingerprints
was
all
happy
over
to
it.
see new Asgard because that was one of my biggest beefs
Yes.
with Endgame was okay, Ragnarok. Okay, we saved everybody. They're gonna go, live somewhere, but then Thanos murders all of them, and it isn't even the snap. So what was the point? You just ruined the ending of Ragnarok. But I don't know. So that was good.
But
to
we
see.
did see a little bit of new Asgard in Endgame, but they were still in the initial building up phase. Now
Mhm.
some time has passed, so they're more established.
Mhm.
So more of a real city as opposed to a little fishing town.
Yeah.
And then seeing Thor, kind of the training sequence to get back in.
Yeah.
to
Which
get
really
back
is
in
just what
shape.
Chris Hemsworth does to train for Thor anyway. If you follow him on social media, he's doing that kind of shit anyway with the giant chains, and he's one of those
Yeah.
guys that does the workouts with like the big like monster truck tires,
Yes.
rolling them
yeah.
around and flipping them on the ground. So yeah,
Yep.
But yeah, it looks really good. I'm really excited. So I just so far Taika Waititi is just like can do no wrong. So
And Star-Lord's, don't make eye contact with me. Come on.
yeah. Oh my goodness. So good. It is nice to know that there's going to be something fun like that coming
Mhm.
after probably what is going to be the emotional ringer of Multiverse of Madness. So,
Oh yeah.
and there will be a lot of turnaround time. So,
Mm-mm. No, 2 months, less than,
Yep.
depending on where in July it happens to fall.
yeah, July 8th, I believe. Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
slightly over 2 months. All right, so moving on to feedback. So we got some feedback from Shalane, just Shalane, no feedback from Nick, but he was kind of on the show last week, so that would have been kind of weird if he had
Yeah.
left feedback
Yeah.
while talking about his feedback while on the show.
Feedback for himself.
Feedback
Like,
section.
I forgot to mention
That's-
this.
It's like I need to say this first.
Mhm.
So Shalane starts off with a question. She says, when we do our podcast about the Lion King, will the live action Lion King be included?
Maybe as an afterthought, but yeah, as far as I'm
Mhm.
concerned, there's only one Lion King.
Yeah.
It
It will
Yeah.
be mentioned that it's a thing that happened.
Yes.
I still haven't seen it, and I have no plans anytime to see it.
I've seen enough clips,
Same.
especially the part that breaks my heart the most is they got James Earl Jones to do it, but I just kind of felt like, oh, here, let's trot you out because lol, look what we did.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it just
Well,
didn't
it's like,
seem...
you're emotionally scarred enough from a cartoon Mufasa dying. I
Yes.
don't need a photorealistic Mufasa
No.
dying.
Well, and I don't want this to sound rude or wrong, but it has been 20 plus years. James Earl Jones's voice sounds different. He doesn't sound like Simba's dad. He sounds like Simba's grandpa. So that makes it even worse because why? Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on the subject for now.
Yep. So it will be mentioned, but we're not really going to do an analysis of that. Thank you. So, but good question. She says, now on to the Avengers. Woo! She also cannot believe it's been 10 years since the Battle of New York. I know.
Welcome to the ranks of us old folk.
Yeah. Then she talks about a little bit about her history of the comics and everything. You know, she grew up watching Batman, X-Men, Spider-Man cartoons. And then she saw the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. And then when she went and saw the Avengers, she was so amazed at how awesome it was. So then she went back and watched like Iron Man and Thor and Captain America. So there's always a good time to get in, even if you didn't get on the ground floor like Chauncey did. Better late than never.
True enough.
She says, also Iron Man was my top favorite Marvel hero, but then I decided to go with Ant-Man. And she said, sorry, Rachel. I'm like, that's okay.
We all have our favorites.
Yeah.
I would say that just means more Iron Man for me, but he's dead, so
there's no
Iron
Man
that.
There is no Iron Man for
at least your
right
hero is still alive.
For now.
For now.
Yeah,
They'll never kill Ant-Man. People love Paul Rudd too much.
Yeah, but people love Robert Downey Jr. too much too, and look what happened.
Yeah, I know.
Well, he'd been doing it for
This
a
is
long
true.
time.
Yeah.
He wanted to go on to do other things like Doolittle.
Yeah.
Get farted on by a dragon.
Yeah.
Spoilers if you haven't seen that movie.
Then she says her favorite scene in the Avengers is when the Hulk smashes the giant space whale thing. Then Thor helps Captain America up, and they're like, where he's like, wait, you get tired? Yeah.
Of course not.
And then Hawkeye's jump off the building, where he shoots that arrow, which, yes, that is a really cool shot. And every time I'm like, ugh, Jeremy Renner's biceps are the size of my head. Then she says, I would also love to meet Jon Favreau and Kevin Feige and tell them thank you for bringing me my superhero life, and to tell John thank you for making her favorite Disney animation, The Jungle Book, into a live action film, and for The Mandalorian.
Yes.
There's a lot to thank Jon Favreau about.
and beg him to have you consider doing this, please.
True enough.
Pretty please. So, thank you, Shalane, for your feedback as always. And I am pretty sure we are going to hear back from Shalane about this week's main topic, because this is so in her wheelhouse.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if it's this year or next year or last year. I mean, but she actually got a job. It's called Tuacahn. It's a outdoor amphitheater down in southern Utah that they do. They have it's a theater thing, and they have musicals and stuff, and they have a season. And she's actually working down there this summer. And I want to say they went and I think they did Annie last year, or they're doing it this year. I know they've done it. I know it's like something coming up. So yeah, so she's gonna have plenty to say either way. Whenever it was that the theater company did it.
Yeah. Well, and just, talking about
Yeah.
musicals and especially Broadway musicals.
Oh, of
are
course. Of course.
So in her wheelhouse. So
Absolutely.
and in again, podcasting serendipity. I totally did not plan it this way. I put this on the schedule because I'm like, oh, it's the 40th anniversary of the movie with Carol Burnett and Tim Curry and Bernadette Peters, which that's a powerhouse trio right there in that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
It also, this week, is the 45th anniversary of the Broadway musical originally opening.
Wow.
And tomorrow is Tim Curry's birthday.
Wow.
Nice.
Nice. Oh, Rachel, you couldn't have planned it any better.
I couldn't have. I really could not have.
The podcast gods are smiling upon us.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like late April of 1977 is when Annie originally opened on Broadway. And I'm like, wait a minute. Alrighty then.
There you go. Well, let's take it and run with it then.
You had the Tony Stark realization with the word and getting busted by Morgan.
I guess so. So, yeah. Annie, Little Orphan Annie. So, history lesson as always. Because I love doing that kind of stuff. And even also serendipitous, Annie, the musical, based off the cartoon strip from the 20s that originally started in the 20s, based off a poem by James Whitcomb Riley, who is a Hoosier.
Well, there you go. All roads lead back to Indiana.
Yes. Well, and any Hoosier child, especially of the central Indiana area, if you went to any school, probably more than likely elementary school, at least for me, it was elementary school. Any child who went to a central Indiana elementary school worth their salt at one point or another took a class field trip to the James Whitcomb Riley home, which is located downtown Indianapolis. I don't remember much about the house because it is a very traditional, 1800s style home. Nestled in the middle of downtown Indianapolis, which now is, sprawling urban landscape.
Right.
But it's in a neighborhood where they're all historic homes, so they're all being, they're all preserved. So, they can't tear them down. But the one thing I remember is them taking us up into the attic where the actual Annie lived and showing us the kind of crawl space, storage space, I guess, that you could access via this door. And it was just this dark, like, whole chasm in this space as a little kid. It's like, oh, it's dark, it's scary. And then of course they tell us the poem, which is this like kind of morality tale about, if you don't say your prayers, if you're not polite, if you don't wash your hands before supper and that, don't do your chores, then the goblins are gonna come and get you. So it's like, just seeing that, that crawl space, or I think it's just storage is really what it's intended for, but they don't use it for that. But at the time when the Rileys lived there, I'm sure that's what it was intended for. But just as a kid, I just have that seared into my brain, taking the tour of this house and them just showing us this dark space, and like, of course, us being dumb little kids, someone some kid in the class would be like, "Hey, I dare you to go in there and shut the door." So
I triple dog dare you.
yeah. So the story of Annie is a little iffy on why exactly she was orphaned, but nobody knows exactly why. Some
Right.
people claim her mother died and then her father took off. Some claim her father was in jail. Some claim that both of her parents were dead. So nobody's entirely sure, but she was technically an orphan. The Rileys took her in. And even though they treated her like a member of the family, she, kind of being the oldest child now in the house, she helped take care of the younger kids, and that included a very young James Whitcomb Riley. So, and she would apparently tell the kids like these scary, like ghost stories and other types of things, like we've talked about with some fairy tales where they kind of have a moral to them. She would do the same thing. She loved telling, and these kids loved hearing these super scary stories. And this, is in the 1800s. So
Hey,
kids have loved
kids.
being scared since the dawn of time.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
Should tell you some of the kids' books that we've been getting in lately.
Yeah.
They're actually pretty good, but that's for another discussion.
Yeah. So eventually when he grew up, started his writing career, he printed a poem that it was originally called The Elf Child, which was the original title for the first 2 times it was printed. And that was in 1885. And then he changed the title to Little Orphan Allie, Allie, but the printers made a mistake with the typeset, so they changed the L's to N's. And Riley was like, actually, that's not bad. Let's just go with that. So it became Little Orphan Annie, and he just kind of went with it, and it grew from there. So, and yes, Annie and Andy was the kind of the influence to the Raggedy Dolls. If you've ever had a Raggedy Andy and Annie dolls with their little blue and white checkered outfits and their bright red hair and little hearts sewn on them. I had a set when I was a kid.
Yep, I did too.
Same here.
Yep. So yeah, as a Hoosier, we all we all learned about James Whitcomb Riley at some point. He's buried here in Indianapolis at Crown Hill Cemetery. Actually, his burial site is one of the highest points in the cemetery.
Wow.
It's up on a giant hill. So it's a great place. The cemetery is really cool, especially if you're a fan of not just like cemeteries and like different styles of like gravestones and crypts and stuff. There's like a chapel on property too and some other buildings. So it's really fun if you're kind of an architecture nerd. There's lots of trees and lots of walking paths. So it's a really great place to go and like take a walk, and it's even pet friendly. Pets are welcome if you want to come and walk your dog there. But some of the hills are very, very steep, and Riley's happens to be at the very top of the highest hill in the cemetery. I've climbed up there once. I shot video while I was up there. I'll put a link to it in the show notes when I was standing up there, because you can like on a clear day you can see a big chunk of Indianapolis when trees aren't in your way.
Right.
But it's really cool. It's kind of this big elaborate. There's statues of children. People leave pennies and stuff there for him. So, which I think they end up collecting those and taking them and donating them to Riley Hospital for Children, which is named after him.
Okay.
So,
well, that's cool.
So, yeah, but his poem, Little Orphan Annie, it was the impetus for the comic Little Orphan Annie, which was created by Harold Gray, and made its debut August 5th, 1924 in the New York Daily News. And the general plot in that was Annie, her dog Sandy, and her benefactor Oliver, Daddy Warbucks, and other characters included Punjab the Asp, Mr. Am, and ran for a long time, and was very, very successful. Like when the stock market crashed, later, the strip was popular enough that Gray was fine financially. So and a lot of the strips were up until the point where he was drawing them and writing them were very we think of comic strips and we think of things like Garfield, and he kicks somebody off the table and eats lasagna in one gulp. But Gray used the Annie comic strip as his opportunity to comment on society and politics and the economy and the like, which is not that uncommon.
No. Well, and it was, I mean, like my first inkling, I guess my first inkling that this existed was Otter Pops. They have a flavor that's little orphan orange. But my other one is in The Christmas Story, when Ralphie is listening to the radio program with Orphan Annie, which Christmas Story
with the Ovaltine.
The Ovaltine, but it takes place, that whole thing takes place in Indiana. So I was just like, there it is. But so it was serialized adventure stories on the radio, at least. But that
came later.
That came later. But that's how comic strips and those kinds of stories were told. It wasn't just you made the comparison to Garfield. It wasn't just like, oh, here's the one and done joke, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it was a different style of storytelling. So that it's very much one of the, and you can tell in the movie and the musical that it's very much a product of the the Depression era, and it was those things that people read or listened to because life sucked a lot back then.
It's just if you were to go back, and because you can find the strips online, it's like if you were to go back and read them now, you just don't be too surprised. You're like, oh, this is not Garfield, or Peanuts.
There was a very different style of how stories, comics, and things like that were consumed, because people didn't have a lot of money, so but this is how they told their stories. So that time period is just of literature and storytelling. It's just really fascinating to me, just how much people just they did more, they did so much more with so much less in what they were able to do. And it's just like nowadays we have the big bombastic blockbuster movies with all the special effects and everything, and then and we enjoy that, but those pulps, those adventure stories, those radio things, they're they did they told some really amazing stories with not a lot of resources, and it's just it's always been a fascinating thing to me. So and Little Orphan Annie definitely falls into that category.
And I found a video on YouTube, which I'll have linked in the show notes, about Little Orphan Annie and the Ovaltine sponsored radio show. Unfortunately, the gal that played Annie was not treated very well.
I imagine.
But it is interesting to learn about, even back then, advertising and selling, it was one of the, I don't know if it was one, but it's that I know of an early time when a company learned that they could advertise to children.
And everybody wants to complain about the 80s and, oh, this was just made to sell toys.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
They've been doing that for a long time.
How do you think
This is-
these things get made? With money. Someone's
Yeah.
got to pay the bills.
This is not a new idea.
Mhm.
Even Walt Disney learned early on
Yes.
when he lost Oswald and then created Mickey. Keep the rights to that darn character because merchandising and licensing, that's where the money is.
Merchandising.
Mm-hmm.
The real money.
Spaceballs a flamethrower.
Well, and you kind of see that in this movie because they go on the radio for Mr. Warbucks. They're trying to find Annie's parents, and and he reads the script and he realizes he's like, wait, I've done a commercial. I never endorse anything.
Mhm. Drop page. Bert Healy. Yeah, so the comic started in the 24. Gray died in 68, but other cartoonists kept the strip going, and some people worked on that until subscriptions really started to fall off. So then those people left, and 73 the strip was passed around, and so it finally found a new person, a new guy in charge in 74, where he changed her look to make her look more cartoonish. And that only lasted for 3 months. So then in April of 74, they decided to reprint some of the classic strips, and actually subscriptions went up. So they did reprints until 79. And then by then the musical was a thing and very successful, so they were able to resurrect it with a new artist and writer, Leonard Starr. And he did the strip until the year 2000, and then the strip went into reprints again, when then a new writer and artist came in June of 2000, and it was like a rotating door of people from there until 2010. And it still ran, but then they started losing subscribers again, and by 2010 it was actually running in fewer than 20 US newspapers, which is not a lot considering how many newspapers there are in this country. So
Yeah.
so they announced that the strip's final installment would appear on Sunday, June 13th, 2010, ending after 86 years. And the last strip was the culmination of a story arc where Annie was kidnapped from her hotel by a wanted war criminal from Eastern Europe who checked in under a phony name with a fake passport. Ooh. So although Daddy Warbucks enlists the help of the FBI and Interpol finds her, by the end of the final strip, he's begun to resign himself as a very strong possibility that Annie most likely will not be found alive. Unfortunately, Warbucks is unaware that Annie is still alive and has made her way to Guatemala with her captor, known simply as the Butcher of the Balkans. Although Annie wants to be let go, the butcher tells her that he neither will let her go nor kill her for fear of being captured, and because he will not kill a child despite his many political killings, and adds that she has a new life now with him. The final panel of the strip reads, "And this is where we leave our Annie for now." That's where they left it.
Well, it's kind of a
the comic strip was going to end.
kind of as a and the story continues sort of thing.
A bit.
A bit.
But 3 years later, bring in, of all people, Dick Tracy, who would come in and resolve the fate of Annie. So in June of 2013, there were several Annie characters that started to make appearances in the Dick Tracy comics, and on June 16th, Daddy Warbuck implies that he might even enlist Tracy's help in finding her. So they picked it up again the following year with Warbucks asking for Tracy's assistance in finding Annie. In the course of the story, Tracy receives a letter from Annie and determines her location. That's why he's a great detective. Meanwhile, the name of the kidnapper, the kidnapper's real name is revealed as Henrik Willems, and he has been tracked to the city where he's found and made to disappear. Tracy and Warbucks rescue Annie, and the storyline is wrapped up on October 12th. Annie once again visits Dick Tracy while he's visiting his granddaughter in 2015, and this concluded on September 26, 2015, with Dick Tracy sending the girls home from a crime scene to keep them out of the news. Then there was one final appearance with Annie and her friends and family in a Dick Tracy strip in May of 2019, and establishes that Warbucks has finally, after over 80 years, formally adopted Annie.
Took you long enough there, Ollie.
Yeah, really?
Right?
Mhm.
Oh, that's just, these serialized stories got to keep the
Yes.
status quo forever.
Right?
Yeah.
But
I just think
it's
that's
all
funny.
good.
That's like, finally in 2019,
Yeah. After
Almost
how
100
many years
years.
in limbo?
almost 100 years after the strip started.
Yep. Oh my goodness.
But of course, the strip did go as long as it did because of said musical, which is celebrating 45 years, with the music written by Charles Strauss, lyrics by Martin Chapman, and book by Thomas Meehan, which Charnin first approached Meehan to write the book back in 1972. Meehan researched by rereading prints of the comic strip, which was handy considering they were reprinting them.
Yep.
But actually wasn't able to find any satisfactory material for a musical other than the characters of Annie, Daddy Warbucks, and Sandy. So he decided to create his own story.
That works.
Good on him.
Yep. So he saw the character of Annie as a 20th century American female version of the titular orphan characters created by Charles Dickens in works such as Oliver Twist and David Copperfield. So Charnin and Strauss did like Meehan's book, ended up trimming a lot of it out, but that's okay because Meehan would then novelize it, so you can go and read that if you can find it. So the novelization was published in 1980, and then reprinted again in 2014, so you might be able to find a copy out there. And they use the lyrics and turn those into dialogue and monologue, and obviously allows them to go in way more depth as far as background of characters, like how bad the orphanage really is.
Oh gosh.
It's a lot darker instead of kind of goofy like it's portrayed in the movie.
I mean, the movie, there's some, they don't come out full out and say it, but there are some dark insinuations just that, you know, Miss Hannigan, she only keeps the job because there are no other jobs to be had, and so she just makes everybody's lives miserable because she can.
Yeah.
And then how what she does to have the cops turn a blind eye.
Yeah, it's like, oh dear. Which
Yeah. But like in the book, it goes like Annie's adventure before she ends up with Daddy Warbucks is a lot longer. Some of the girls actually at the orphanage actually go to school where they don't have as the time that there is just as bad as it is the orphanage actually.
Yeah.
A lot of bullying.
Yep.
From the school kids, especially the ones that are better off. Annie ends up going on the run for months at a time. She works at a cafe. She ends up living in Hooverville for a while, which if you've seen what is it? The
Daleks in Manhattan.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, there are other times, other medium that Hooverville is portrayed, but that's coming from
something
Doctor
kind
Who
of
as we don't.
kind of newish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's.
Yeah. She gets arrested. Then she gets released and given a job. So yeah, so it fleshes out a lot a lot more, but the musical, even as is, very successful. Originally ran for nearly 6 years, setting a record for the theater that it was in. It won 7 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, and spawned a number of other adaptation homages, including this film. There's a actual Disney version of the musical. They did Annie live on NBC when one of those years recently that they were doing the live Broadway musicals on live TV. And then of course the most newest movie adaptation with the weirdest cast. The girl that plays Annie, super cute. I'm not entirely sure about Cameron Diaz as Miss Hannigan, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
I guess
there were some interesting choices going on in that one.
Yeah,
I mean,
even in the
once
Annie
you
live, there were some interesting choices. So
when you have Carol Burnett as Miss Hannigan in the live action musical movie, I mean, kind of all bets are fuck her off, in my opinion.
It's kind of hard to compare. It's like when you have Carol Burnett and then like everybody else who comes after is kind of like, I guess it was okay. Because I mean, because my middle school, when I was in 8th grade, they did Annie, and so when I had a lot of friends who were in it, my sister was in it, and so like I knew the story and I knew like kind of how things shake out, but and that, I mean, that's a school production of it, so it's kind of like then I see this movie, which this is the first time. I think it's the first time I've seen it. I don't remember seeing this particular version. In fact, I don't even know if I've seen any movie version of it at all. But I'm like just watching.
There's only the 3.
Well, yeah.
So
so I was watching this one, and I'm like, oh, that's how Miss Hannigan's supposed to be, because I'm just like, I mean, I knew she wasn't a nice woman, and I knew that she's supposed to be this very villainous, distasteful, just why are you in charge of a girl's home? That's just yuck. But man, she's just like, she sells it.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
just
she is
she's like, I'm like,
absolutely amazing.
I'm looking at this like, you're
Yes.
kind of the definitive Miss Hannigan, and I don't care who says what.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here you
Yeah.
are.
Now I
Mhm.
will preface that as much as I love this adaptation, it's not faithful to the stage
No.
musical.
No, because it's supposed to take place at Christmas.
Well, that
Which-
too, but
well-
like several songs from the stage version are cut
Mm-hmm.
and
And
new
they-
ones are added, which ends up kind of being a good thing because the duet, air
Mhm.
quotes, between Miss Hannigan and Daddy Warbucks was written specifically so that those two characters could have a scene together. So Albert Finney against Carol Burnett is just is
Yes.
so funny. So
Which,
I'm
you
glad
know-
that they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, because I saw that and I'm just like, huh. Like, I mean,
I don't remember that in the play.
I don't remember those two like ever having a scene together, and that was sort of the point. But this version, it's like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna accept it because,
Mhm.
dude, because it's just kind of a fun and interesting juxtaposition of two very different characters, but it just sort of works for this
Mhm.
version. I don't know if it'd work in any other play or station or movie or what have you, but yeah, this here it's fine. It's great.
Mhm. Yeah. And Tim Curry was not supposed to be Rooster at first. It was actually going to be Steve Martin,
Mm-hmm.
but Steve Martin declined because he and Bernadette Peters had just recently broken up.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want to. Oh, more than understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, like, I'm
so-
trying to imagine Steve Martin in the role, and I kind of can, but I kind of like Tim Curry in it better, mostly because it's Tim Curry.
Yeah.
No offense to
Yeah.
Steve
But I
Martin.
mean,
I like Steve Martin
yeah,
a lot.
he can be. I mean, obviously, he can sing and dance, I guess. I don't know if I've ever really seen him dance properly. I know he can sing.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, Little Shop of Horrors. Partially
And
the
it-
reason why I have dental anxiety. Uh,
But
so yeah, but yeah, I could see Steve Martin, but Tim Curry is just I mean, he's the whole reason I watched this for the first time in the first place. Is just, I was on a tear and wanted to watch anything and everything that Tim Curry had ever done that I could get my hands on, and this
And
happened to
That'd
be one of
that'd
them.
be an interesting watch list. See, the
Yeah.
women are very interesting. and
there's a
random.
reason there's a meme like, you can tell a lot by a person by what they know Tim Curry from.
Exactly.
Yeah, but for me, that would be like 12 different things. So what does that
I
say
know.
about me?
It means that you
I'd
like
say
Tim Curry and
honestly-
you want to see all his
Yeah.
movies.
Apparently.
Yes.
It just means I really love Tim.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then Bernadette Peters, who I want to say by this point, in the early 80s, her stage career wasn't as poppin' as I think she would have liked. So she had turned to Hollywood, and hence doing roles like this. So,
Mhm.
but I mean, she's definitely one of those, and she and Carol Burnett are friends. So that helps too, I'm sure. So she's on the Carol Burnett show. I don't know how many times. But yeah, I mean, Bernadette's just a powerhouse when it comes to Broadway and musicals. So, they brought in this strong supporting cast because all of the kids were going to be unknowns.
Yeah.
They
Mhm.
especially Annie, they wanted an unknown, knowing full and well that this potentially could make her an overnight sensation. But and obviously she needed to be able to handle herself. But being surrounded by these amazing stars, Albert Finney, he's an okay song and dance man. Other than, he's done some bit parts. The only other major thing I know him from is from one of the worst movies we have reviewed on Gold Standard, Tom Jones, where he plays the titular role of Tom Jones, and that movie is god awful. So I will take Albert Finney in this, where when the girls show up after Annie's been taken by her parents, and the other orphans show up, and he's like, oh, she just, she's already gone with her parents. And little Molly's like, they weren't her parents, they were bad people. And he's like, leaping lizards.
Yeah, you can tell Daddy Warbucks, doesn't matter
So
in what.
phoned in.
Yeah. Well, I kind of got the feeling, because he's, got the very hammy, billionaire sort of persona, like, make the money, but then he tells the story about how, like, he grew up poor and he never was gonna not have money again because they didn't have money when his brother was sick, and he ended up dying. And it's just kind of like, yeah, I believe that. I get it. And he's like, in any version of Daddy Warbucks, whatever musical or stage production or movie that he's in, it's like, you gotta get that he's, the hardened, I gotta make money because I don't want to be poor. And then he just, has the, the heart melting, the heart melting moments when Annie, comes into his life, and there's like more to life than just
money.
making money. And
Yeah. She's
And
only
I'll-
staying for 1 week. I wanted a boy.
Yeah, and then by the
Grows
end of
on
the
her.
show, he's
It's-
like, yeah, you're my little girl, and it's so cute.
Mhm.
And
It's kind of like the dad who says, we aren't getting the dog, we aren't getting the cat, and guess who the dog or cat globs onto?
yes, only in this case it's a little girl. And it's just
Yes.
like, dad, generally speaking, I'm not going to say this is true of everybody, but it's true. It was true for me, at least. Generally speaking, dads with their daughters are just, they're putty. They are.
Yep.
They melt like butter.
Yeah.
And-
You just look at them one way
Mhm.
with the head tilt and the eyes, and yeah.
Yeah. So it's, and honestly, I don't know that it would have the same impact if the orphan had been a boy. Sorry, but
Exactly.
it had
Yeah.
to be. It had to be the cute little 10-year-old redhead who could spell Mississippi.
Yeah. Yes.
But I love how Annie just like rolls with it too.
Uh-huh. Well,
You
and
know,
then
like,
and
when-
Grace, who's like,
yeah,
just
Yeah.
like red
But no.
hair, who's intelligent, and she's
Just-
7, 8. You know,
You see the hand going up in the closet.
up and
Okay,
up
yeah,
and
yeah,
up,
yeah,
and
we're
then,
good, we're good,
like,
we're good.
10, we're good.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's, I love that bit when she's trying to convince her, no, you want this one. And even Miss Hannigan is like, no, you can't have her. And it's just weird because like Miss Hannigan like doesn't like Annie so much, yet she still doesn't want her to go. She wants her to stay and be miserable or whatever. And
Yeah. Or she also knows that Annie's probably the one that's keeping everything together for her. So if Annie leaves, everything's gonna go.
that is true. That is very
because
possible.
Annie has the level head,
Yes.
seemingly over the other girls, and
Like Annie
keeps
could be running the place.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, 'cause
Exactly.
you got like little Molly, who's like, probably one of the youngest there, and suffers from nightmares, and needs a lot of mothering. And compassion, which Miss Hannigan is not capable of. And then you got ones like Pepper, who is just a boss and kind of really a bitch.
Yeah, she's got that. But everybody kind of respects and looks up to Annie, which is a big deal. Like, why they're like, oh no, when her quote unquote parents are coming to get her. Which tangent, I love the scene where Rooster and Lily are at the orphanage, and they're like asking for Annie, where's our little girl? And Miss Hannigan just totally buys that these are her parents. And I and just the way that the between the makeup, the costume, and the acting, I'm like, oh wow, I can't even tell that these are the same people. Just I love that bit. I mean,
which it is crazy when you think about it, considering Miss Hannigan knows that Annie's parents are dead.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and considering Rooster is supposedly her quote unquote brother.
Right. Well, and even Lily says, you guys have the same mother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I know, I can't believe it either.
Either.
Well, just the fact that she
adopted.
Yeah, it's just like before she realized that it's her brother and his and Lily in disguise, she's like, "You're Annie's parents," and I'm like, and then so many minutes later, she's like, "Well, when her parents died in a fire, they brought me all of their junk." So like, you knew her parents are dead. Yet you were convinced that was her parents. So it's like, okay, you've had way too much to drink, Miss Hannigan.
Yes. we will blame the booze.
Yeah.
You were swimming in that tub a little too long.
Yes. No more bathtub gin for you.
No.
I mean, you time.
And why does she get off scot-free at the end of the movie?
Good question.
That's like my one complaint.
Yeah.
Good question.
Right?
Maybe because she tried to stop Rooster from killing Annie.
I know, but still.
I don't know. It's weird.
And I don't
really
know
weird.
if Daddy Warbucks would be that sympathetic to her, considering the crap that happened.
No,
no kidding.
Yeah. I mean, like, really?
I mean, I'd be thinking that Daddy Warbucks would be send her to Sing Sing and don't let her out, or put her on a longboat.
Throw away the key.
Yeah, throw her on a longboat to Australia and keep her there.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, that part I didn't get. It's like, and she ends up with Punjab, or it's implied that maybe, I don't know.
Maybe Annie's
Punjab,
just like so sympathetic, has such a big heart.
Maybe I have no clue.
Or maybe Punjab is keeping Miss Hannigan in line.
That could be.
That could very well be.
Maybe he's mesmerized her that she'll act like a decent human being from now on.
I mean, if it worked with Sandy.
Yeah. The whole thing with like Punjab and the Aspen, like again, they're not part of the Broadway musical because they didn't want like the magic and stuff. They wanted it to be more real.
Mm-hmm.
But so the movie, this movie in particular, while it's not necessarily faithful to the Broadway musical, it is faithful to the comic strip.
Yeah,
as far as like the fantastic nature of it, and the Asp and the Punjab having like all these mystical powers and stuff, which
I mean, I completely forgot the scene cracking up where Punjab is trying to defuse and get rid of the bomb from the Bolsheviks. And now Daddy Warbucks friend is like, if this isn't from an action Marvel movie.
And it's so funny because he's just going on and feeling
about
the
business.
Buy copper, more copper.
More copper. Yeah, it's like there's a bomb and there's a guy trying to kill him, and we'll just take care of this. And they're like, oh, okay, back to my phone call. Business.
Yeah.
Like, hold on, let me call J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar, yeah. We caught some guys tried to kill me. Get your best man on it. Bye.
And what's her name's not even batting an eye that this happened, and Annie's like, oh, no. That's cool, but why?
Yeah. Yeah, that is pretty funny. That he just Daddy Warbucks is just like unflappable.
Pretty much. It's like we're all calling him Daddy Warbucks, but she doesn't call him that until the end of the movie.
I
Until
know.
they
It's
go
just
down there
that the
well,
lexicon is he's Daddy Warbucks.
I know,
so.
because
Warbucks.
in the musical, he's just they just call him Daddy Warbucks through the whole thing, but the movie he's Mr. Warbucks until she's officially adopted by him, and I'm just like I kind of found that an interesting choice that they made, but that they did that, and that this movie is so it's kind of the version that a lot of people know, and yet like I always associated this story with Christmas, because in the stage musical he wants to have an orphan stay with him over Christmas, and not just a week, and then they're shopping at like New York at Christmas, and I mean you have shades of Home Alone 2, at least I did, and stuff like that. So they're just some, and I know that the making it be in summer was just sort of a logistical thing for filming, because
fake snow was expensive.
Snow costs,
so yeah. This
I get that.
Yeah.
There's some interesting changes that they made that I just noticed.
Yeah. Well, and what's crazy is like, because the musical was so big. They did this, it took them over a year to find their Annie. Before we got our leading lady. And this was like I think the 10th highest grossing movie of the year, but still lost money.
Yeah, well, and this year, because 82, like E.T. came out and Tron, so those ones were, well, E.T. definitely was huge.
Yeah.
So it just kind of, I mean, while it made money, or it made so much money, it wasn't enough to cover. So it wasn't as big a hit as they were hoping for. But honestly, I think it's just because of the competition that was around it.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because its budget was 35 million, which even in 80s money is not a whole lot. But yeah, when we're in the early 80s, and Steven Spielberg is doing his thing. And so is George Lucas. They're just all over the place making Star Wars and Indiana Jones and E.T. and blah,
Yeah, and it's
movies
just like
that are making bajillions of dollars.
So Annie, where she's it's a musical, and movie musicals kind of are. They're still. I don't want to say that they're unpopular.
The movie musical was definitely.
Yeah, it was on
not
its
a very strong genre at this point, unless it was a Disney cartoon. And even then, we're not quite there yet.
Early 80s, it's like.
Yeah,
Black Cauldron's
still not quite there yet.
In 85. Yeah, because Little Mermaid isn't until 89.
Yeah.
So so it's still a little iffy, and you kind of wonder, like, if this had come out maybe like even 10 years earlier, definitely if it come out 20 years earlier, it probably would have done a lot better. But yeah, I don't know. It is what it is.
Yeah. But I just love this movie.
Yes.
No, it's a fun one.
It's very campy. It's it's just one of those.
I forgot how enjoyable it was.
Entertaining. Yeah. So. And then with the cast, they're so entertaining to watch, and little Eileen Quinn, she totally holds her own.
Yeah,
with these superstars surrounding her.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you see her every now and then in the movie where you get kind of a more of a close up on her, and her smile is just like so infectious. You're just like, oh, you were just so cute.
Mhm.
You could kick me in the shin right now, and I would be like, oh, thank you, little girl.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I wouldn't be angry with you at all. I'd be smiling right back at you.
No, she
I would be
totally-
apologizing to her.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry about saying your way.
yeah. So she does. She did a fantastic job. So she hasn't really done a whole lot since.
Well, because I read that this was supposed to be sort of a franchise. There's supposed to be sequels, but and they contracted her for sequels to do more Annie. 'Cause I guess they wanted to kind of do like a movie version, maybe a movie version of the radio show or something like that. But because it didn't do so well, they never made any more. But she was still under contract, and by the time that her contract was up, she just wasn't a name anymore. She didn't have any. There were she couldn't get any more acting jobs, which is unfortunate because I think she would have done well going through. But I do know like she has a bit of a music career. Like she's got some albums out, and I looked her up because I'm like, who is this and what has she done since? And not much, but yeah. So she does, she has some just singing and that kind of stuff, and so she's doing okay. It's just she ended
up going to college and
living a life.
Yep.
And all that kind of stuff. So and given what happens sometimes to child actors, especially ones from the 80s, maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that may be a good thing. So yeah, she's got a more of a music career. She's got a band called Eileen Quinn and the Leaping Lizards.
Nice.
Wonder what that inspiration was from.
Don't know.
So. And then of course, Carol Burnett, fabulous.
Yes.
Burnett Peters, fabulous. Tim Curry,
Yes.
fabulous.
Yes.
So.
I mean, talk about three heavy hitters right there.
I know. It's kind of interesting that you have the main character's an unknown, but they surround him by these adult actors who are big names. They did the same thing with Harry Potter. So it's kind of a thing they do, and they have a story that's the main character's a kid, so you have to have the adults around them kind of to help carry it. But I think she did a good job in carrying it herself.
Yeah, I mean, she held her own when
for sure
against Carol Burnett in that opening scene when Carol kind of reaches out and grabs her, and pulls her close. It's just like, I mean, didn't flinch. I mean,
no, not
if
not
I were
at
in her
all.
position, I'd be whoa.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and Carol it helped that Carol got along really well with the cast. Apparently some of the at least one of the Broadway stage Miss Hannigans apparently hated kids and dogs. Why would you audition for a musical where you're surrounded by kids and there's a dog?
Yeah, that seems what one must really have needed the money.
Yeah.
That would be my only explanation.
I guess.
Well, I guess you didn't have to really act.
That is true. Method acting.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yes.
Like you really wanted a Miss Hannigan that seems to really hate everything. There you
go. She doesn't even have to pretend.
Oh, I guess. I just read that and I'm like, why did she audition for this role? Thankfully, Carol Burnett loves kids, so
yes. And her acting like she didn't was just great.
Oh yeah, she just it's so over the top, campy.
Mhm.
You know, and she really takes. I think she really decided to take the alcoholic side of Miss Hannigan and run with it.
Apparently so, because holy crap, that woman is never seen without a bottle or a glass or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
I think at one point I had to do a double take. I thought she was drinking the shampoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, and then her trying to hide from the kids and snuggling up to the radio.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is just like. I am like that. Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Oh. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway. Anything else? Yeah. It was a fun time. I mean, I watched it last night and Lottie wouldn't go to sleep, so she just snuggled up and watched it with me, and it was fun. She liked the dog.
Yeah, of course.
Doggy.
Doggy, yes.
It was cute. Anyway. So if any of our listeners want to chime in about their thoughts on Annie or any musicals, Shalane.
Yeah.
Right?
I
expect an email in the inbox within a couple hours of this going live.
Oh, I'm sure. Which is fine. We appreciate it. Anyway.
We greatly appreciate it, yes.
Anyone have any feedback on this topic, you can send it to us. Our email address is fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, which is the5ishfangirls.com, to find links to our social media, to our YouTube channel, and wherever our podcast is, and also ways to support the podcast on Patreon and our merch shop and other things. Our links are all there on our website, like I said, so check that out. And as always, we thank you for listening, and we thank you for your support, whatever form it takes, and hope you all are keeping on out there.
Mm-hmm. Do what you gotta do, because the sun will come out tomorrow.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Came out today. I was doing some work outside, and I think I got a little sunburned.
Ugh. It snowed here.
It snowed and rained all
here.
week last week, so we're grateful for the sunshine finally.
Yeah. Well.
But anyway.
All right. So with that, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Belvedere saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. I guess this means no bonus Aries? Listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at thefiveishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and any other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you wish to support the show, the easiest way is to leave us a rating and review. More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at patreon.com/fiveishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to keep the show going. For official Five-ish Fangirls merchandise, visit redbubble.com/people/fiveishfangirls. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/fiveishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and may the squee be with you.